Welcome to Impact on the Ground with Tiia. I'm the CEO of a Tech for Good company and passionate about making a difference. This podcast series will dig deeper into what it means to make an impactful change in our society, whether you are individual, charity, social enterprise, company, grant maker, or government body. It's all about collaboration, sharing ideas, and working together. And we are here to talk about how this works in practice. We also focus on the dynamics of those who have resources to give and those who are actually doing the beneficiary work on the ground. Impact on the Ground welcomes Patrik from the charity called Possible. So welcome, Patrik. What does Possible do?
Thanks, Tiia. You actually pronounced my surname right as well, because it's Swedish, so most English just say you. So thank you. What does Possible do? We're a smaller climate charity, basically. Our whole ethos is around basically inspiring the action that the climate crisis demands, but we do that in a positive and practical way, and we're all about giving and presenting the public all the different ways that they can increase their climate action.
So you are kind of encouraging individuals to take small steps towards, a better future for our planet.
Both. I mean, our theory of change would be around sort of individuals taking action at a grassroots level, but also we want that national systemic change. Our ethos is all around combining the two. The two go hand in hand. Governments and politicians will take actions if we as individuals and groups show them that we care about an issue and that we want change. But by the same token, obviously, to create that bigger change, we need policy changes to create that fast and meaningful impact. So it's both go hand in hand for us.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting topic, this, the role of the government. And, sometimes, it can be crucial. Sometimes it's not needed. Individuals and companies might take action towards something without regulation, but then there are a lot of things that actually would benefit from tougher regulations. I guess the plastic bag initiative originally, when they became like mandatorily, charged, it changed the whole way of people using plastic bags. And and I'm sure that there were a lot of charities, and maybe even your charity has been lobbying, don't use the plastic bags, in that quantity. But then the individuals always forgot their, long-lasting bags home, and then didn't even care. But then when the regulation took place, suddenly many people started to remember. So I guess that was a really good kind of action that the government took and made a tremendous change. What do you think now in terms of regulation? What should be done exactly now, for the climate?
Wow, I'm not a head of policy or a campaigner, but I mean there are obviously massive areas where there can be change. I mean, we work in the areas where the public can have a difference. So we as a public, for example, how we get around our transport, the use of incentives perhaps to encourage active travel, to move away from cars in cities. There should be better public transport. Aviation is a massive issue. We need to perhaps remove incentives for flying and increase incentives for train travel for longer distance. Into energy, there should be incentives for renewables and support, and not even incentives, removing blocks. We've had a long-standing campaign around removing planning blocks for onshore wind, which is the cheapest form of energy. And then you get into diet and so on, what we all eat and buy on a daily basis and the products. So, transport and energy would be two key ones that would come to mind, where clearly the government can have a massive impact very quickly. And that also obviously links to jobs and so on. We at Possible are obviously, we always try and step back and look at the big picture. To be honest, it's less about recycling and more about tackling consumption. Transport is just a key source of our emissions, as is sort of clearly what we eat and buy. So yeah, we will try and look at those bigger issues.
Are your activities at the moment, kind of circling around these topics? So tell us about something about your project. What do you actually do? What do you ask consumers to do?
Yeah, good question. I mean, it's very varied because, yeah, like I say, climate, how we can have an impact on climate change in our day-to-day lives can vary from what you might buy at the supermarket this evening for dinner to how you go on holiday to, that pair of jeans you might buy. So our campaigns sort of have that. They go across sort of transport. So aviation is a big area for us to look at. So we've currently got a few, we always try and look at a positive and practical solution. We don't just sort of highlight a problem, say, stop doing this, stop doing that. It's all around, well, what we want people to want to take change and make it really positive. And to be honest, aviation is one of the harder areas to put that in a positive light, because there's so many great things associated with flying, be it new experiencing, meeting new people, new cultures. But for example, to encourage train travel, we've got a campaign, a mark called Climate Perks, whereby your employer will give employees that take the train rather than fly extra time for that longer journey. So if you wanted to go on holiday to Rome next month, that might take a day on a train to get there. So your employer would give you an extra 2 days for that return journey. So that's a positive way to encourage better behavior. But then we also, on a positive, on a policy level, we have a request for what's called a frequent flyer levy. So basically 15% of people take more or less like 75% of flights. It's a real niche. There's almost like a majority of people will not take a flight this year. But a small amount of people will take a lot of flights. So can we sort of reduce that behavior? Because we have to. There's no sort of techno fix for aviation. There's no magic wand. We simply have to reduce that behavior. So yeah, can we have it that maybe there's a tax for the more flights you take, the more expensive that flight is? But otherwise, yeah, then we get into, there are a lot around sort of nature and the nature-based solutions. So clearly everyone knows about tree planting.
Yeah.
And how positive that can be. And there's a lot around sort of dealing with the impacts of climate change also. Like by planting trees, it can help with the risk of flooding, increase biodiversity, and so on. So we have a lot around nature. And then we have, what we eat and buy. So I've mentioned diet. We've just launched a campaign that's happening next month called Climate Cooking, which is encouraging people to look at, what they eat and the impacts on sort of their carbon footprint and the climate around that, obviously around, perhaps meat, or thinking about, where is your food coming from? Is it local? It is a bit of a minefield, but we want people to really actively think about that. Yeah. And then, then it's sort of quite geeky techno areas. So anything from, this is using jargon, but decarbonizing heat. I think this is an issue where the public, we need to fast increase awareness around the use of gas to heat our homes and how poorly insulated in the UK our housing stock is. And so we've got campaigns to now start looking about that, because, it's a major issue in the UK, how wasteful we are of sort of our heat in our homes, and how reliant on gas we are. But that's also one of our challenges, to create what often are areas that are quite techy and boring to sort of general public, and how we engage them in a sort of positive and interesting way. So some areas are easier than others.
So do you have a lot of company partners who are funding you, volunteering with you, or how are you being funded currently and resourced?
Yeah, we don't have lots of corporate partners, to be honest, just because we are that bit smaller, but we have a few, and they've been super supportive, and they work really well. So one of our long-standing partners has been Ben & Jerry's. They've supported I mentioned earlier, our campaign to remove the barriers to onshore wind, and they've supported us since, probably 2016. So it's a long-standing issue, where they've given that support and that sort of reach in terms of social media and promoting our campaigns, encouraging people to sign petitions.
Are they supporting you, giving you kind of reach and visibility rather than money?
Yeah, they did. They have given us money as well, but they've also helped develop campaign asset. So they did an amazing video for us a few years ago and so on. So yeah, they've been very helpful. And then we've got Brompton Bicycles. We've got a new campaign or launched late last year called Car-Free Cities. So encouraging us to challenge the dominance of cars in our cities. We need to reduce cars and the pollution in our cities and across the UK. It's a major impact. And clearly, yeah, we would love more people cycling, as would clearly Brompton.
Yes.
So it's a very relevant fit. So yeah, they support us in terms of PR, sort of that media support, trying to come up with sort of stunts that might get the public and media engaged, and also obviously give us money. So we have that campaign capacity so that we can
I think
have
it sounds
campaigners on the ground.
Very good. All these kind of shared value partnerships, they are the future, for sure. Like you said that, the bicycle brand gets access kind of to your followers and people who are conscious about the environment and their activism. And so they get also commercial benefit. The more they succeed in commercial wise, the more you benefit. Yeah. So I think that that's always the best kind of model to go for, that everybody can work together in the longer term, and it's not just like a one-off thing. But if there is now a company who might not have a direct link to your kind of or direct benefit, how can they still kind of maybe volunteer? Do you have like active tree planting kind of a program that they could participate, or what else can people do to volunteer with you?
Yeah, there are opportunities. You mentioned sort of, I think, tree planting. We've actually got a whole campaign of hedge planting. We want, trees seem to be far sexier than hedges. We're the big hedge fans here. So yeah, we're actually working with farms across the UK. Obviously, the planting season is like October to March. Yeah. We couldn't do it last sort of winter that season. So yeah, upcoming, we'll be working with farms near cities across the season, and we would love to engage corporates in that, and obviously employees. We also have, like I say, our campaign Car-Free Cities is currently working in Birmingham, Bristol, Leeds, and London. But there are sort of ways that the wider public and cities across the UK can get involved. So, for example, we would love to see parklets in cities across the UK. Don't know if you know about this. This is basically taking over what would be a space for a parked car, and cars are generally sat idle for like 94% of the time. So, within our cities, parked cars take up a lot of space, and we would love the public to envisage, well, how would you want to use this space in your sort of road and your community? Do you want it with lots of parked cars, or would you like more green space? Would you like benches? Would you like space for children to play, more trees? So yeah, parklets are a way for people to sort of have that conversation and get their creative juices flowing and think about, well, yeah, what would I want to do with that? So yeah, corporates and volunteers can help us around sort of creating those. But yeah, often we work in a bespoke way with corporates to see what we can do, because due to our size, we're very nimble and flexible, and we can come up with opportunities.
What is your turnover, like annual turnover?
It would be sort of goes up and down to be basically a bit under £1 million, so around 800 grand. So yeah, we are a small organisation, about a bit over sort of 20 members of staff. So yeah,
but it's still a good size, organization that you have structures in place, and you can coordinate probably stuff with even larger organization. You have people working for you. So even bigger corporates probably, could be considered as your partners, but I'm sure any size and type of organization would be helpful. By the way, if somebody's fundraising for you, let's say Teams fundraising for you, what, how many trees or hedges can you get, like, let's say for £1,000 approximately?
Oh gosh.
Do you have any numbers?
We would for tree planting. I mean, this is it. It's funny. I was literally just filling out, updating our details of 1% for the planet, and they were asked that exact question. It's like, do you have any metrics, like how many? And it's a challenge for us, to be honest, because we're not a carbon cutting organization. You know, we work on a cultural level. We want people to take action. It's almost like, we want, it's hard to track those behaviors. But I mean, what we would reference is basically in terms of that reach and that public engagement. So we could quantify, if someone gave us X dollars or pounds, you know, that would help us reach a certain number of the public. It would engage them in an issue. It might even get them to sort of take action on an issue. We could break that down. But for us, that's a challenge, because there are very easy ways and very sort of cost-effective ways to cut carbon, but to get the change that we want, and on a national level, you need the public engaged, and you need them engaged on a cultural level, and you need people talking about issues. So if you decided to sort of change your energy supplier tomorrow, or decided, well, you know what, I'm going to go meat-free Monday to Fridays, we want you to tell people about that. We want you to sort of share that with your friends, your family, because that's how we sort of get that ripple effect and that bigger change and fast, and we mainstream and popularize these solutions. But if you don't, from us and our theory of change, almost like it doesn't have anywhere near as big an impact.
Yeah.
So,
and, you know, and I definitely believe the power of, you know, the change of culture or change of habit. As you know, people are habitual creatures, and whatever we shop or whatever we do, you know, drive a car, you know, whatever, it's just like, if you don't think about it, you just do what you've been always doing. But then, you know, if people talk about it, and like you said, you know, people recommend alternatives, there are alternative or incentives, then you suddenly change your behavior and you'll stick with the new one. But it doesn't happen easily. You have to kind of do it consciously. And I think it's a very, very powerful. I think, you know, these initiatives that you talk about should be in every single company's and individual's agenda. And the companies obviously are pathways to reach all of the employees. And in some cases, like Ben & Jerry and Brompton have done also their customers. So you know, I think every single company should kind of promote these kind of behavioral change, whether they work with you or not, but, you know, kind of in general, because that is the truth, that, you know, everybody has to, you know, kind of do something. We cannot just think that we as an individual, it doesn't matter what I do, because this climate, you know, climate change is such a big thing. What does it matter if I drive a car or eat meat? Isn't it right? I mean,
it is I'm on board here. I like you sing it from the rooftops. I like it. No, you're absolutely right. Climate change is such a big issue, and it obviously can seem so big and intimidating. But like I say, our ethos is, we sort of we call it sort of being stubbornly optimistic, or having climate courage. That we can't stick our heads in the sand, and we can't think, oh, what's the point? That's not our ethos. It's like, there's so many solutions out there, and so much we can do that's so easy and fun and so beneficial, that go do it, basically. And, you know, the solutions are out there, and we need the government and organizations and companies, and we as individuals should doing it. And that's what we're about. We want to make it as easy as possible to do something. And as you say, from a company point of view, I mean, talking to customers for us is absolutely amazing, because it just creates that far bigger ripple effect. But just talking to employees, and as I say, that the impacts and value of that peer-to-peer influence is really, really powerful.
There are a lot of studies. When I was doing my MBA, I read quite a lot of articles about green consumption and how to influence people. And I guess there are different kind of people, and some people, even if they read a lot of papers or articles or whatever, they wouldn't change their behavior. But if a friend tells them to, or asks them to, then they do it. So I guess that's very good for people to kind of recognize that, you know, they can have an impact just by talking about it, because there are loads of people who don't change their behavior unless it's someone they know who is kind of talking about it.
Completely.
That's a scientific fact. I mean, this is really like a research fact that, you know, it makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we've even done research on other issues, and people often think like they're the anomaly, that, oh, I care about this, but no one else does. And it even happens on a political level. We've had MPs come to us and say, oh, my constituents, they don't really care about climate change. It's not an issue top of their agenda, which is the complete opposite. We know from polling and research that it's really high, even with COVID, it's such a high issue, particularly obviously with younger people, but even for older people, climate change is one of the top issues. So this is why, yeah, you've got to tell your MP, and you've got to tell people,
Yeah.
this is an issue I care about. But if you don't, they think otherwise. And often people think, well, I'm the only one that cares about climate change. Or, we've had it with specific issues such as onshore wind, where people go, oh, I don't mind wind turbines, but I think a lot of other people think they look ugly and, they're not a fan. Well, when you do polling, it's like 75% of people are for onshore wind turbines. But you often get these narratives, and we've had it obviously with sort of low traffic neighborhoods now and active travel in cities, where, yeah, the classic thing of you get a vocal minority that skew how an issue appears to the wider public, when in fact you've got this big silent majority that are for, an intervention or an activity, or, this action, but because they're silent on an issue, people think otherwise. So,
yeah. So I guess we can conclude that everybody can make a difference and do their bit for, preventing the climate change or stop the climate change. But also, I mean, I would, recommend companies to maybe check out your profile on whatimpact.com. So it was possible, and see how they could maybe collaborate with you, or the employees volunteer. What you had a request, I guess, on What Impact regarding, was it some kind of a service that you were after that would be helpful and would help you save money?
Yeah, we've got a few things we're actually looking at the moment. I think it's to add value to our sort of campaigns. I think I mentioned like hedge planting and car-free cities. We're also looking to redo our website. That's obviously a key thing for us, but it also is that reach. Like I say, our aim is to talk to people outside the green bubble, in terms of the people we want to speak to. We know there are a slither of people in the UK that are climate deniers. We're quite lucky in the UK, it's not a very vocal bunch of people. And then you've got people that are clearly doing a hell of a lot for climate action. And it's almost like, well, you guys keep going, we'll leave you to it, you're doing great work. But you've got this big amount of people in the middle that know climate change is real, know they should do more, they want to do more, and they just need a bit of help and inspiration and assistance in doing that. And we would love to talk to those people. And if companies are if they're employees or it's their customers, we would love to work with them to, spark that meaningful climate action. But yeah, in terms of the nitty gritty of what we do, I think we've obviously updated What Impact. There are a few campaigns that could really benefit from that support.
Okay. Well, thank you for this chat, Patrik, and I wish possible all the best. And thank you for your time, and speak to you soon.
Thanks so much for your support and positivity, Tiia. Really appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.